Okay, cool. That is running now, right? Let me just check the music. Yippee! Okay, cool. Alright, cool. Yay, okay, awesome. Today is just art, so... Yay! That's literally everything. The whole stream is just gonna be me drawing. I love art. I love consuming my soul to create something of mediocre value. Okay! Volume's a bit down the music side. It should be fine, I think. I think it's just fine. Awesome! So start. So, I started with the Golden Dagger earlier. Not looking the greatest. It's kind of like very, very roughed out. My reference image is like 10 messages back on my server. I have to go all the way back up and find my reference images. Hi there. Okay. There's not gonna be too much going on. It's just gonna be artwork. So woohoo! Where are we? I think like overall, it's not actually looking the worst. And proportions wise, it's kinda okay. Might make the blade a bit longer. We probably should make the blade a bit longer. Approximately. We can go with that. Like, yeah, it's very handle heavy now. I think it's more just the issue of the blade being too short. And not really, I think this is maybe a bit big. But that's an issue with this being too big. So making the handle shorter would make this bigger, relatively speaking, which is bad. I think it's more that the blade needs to be longer. And when I do rescale this weapon, I'm gonna have to overall make it shorter because I think compared to this blade, it's very, very long. Yeah, so we're gonna have to make the whole weapon. Actually, we can just make it smaller now. Like that size. And then, you know, resize the blade accordingly. Is that too long now? That actually might be on the too long side, but we still have the... It kind of did look better like this. It is very... It's very, like, hilt heavy, but I don't know. Tune that down, does it... It actually looks bad now. This kind of needs to maintain this specific curve. I can probably pop it up a bit. That keeps the overall shape kind of consistent, but makes it not as major of a part of the overall design. Very heavy, so slight. I think actually overall it's not too bad, but the issue is I'm still going to have to add a hilt here, which is still going to dominate, which I think actually just a circle would be fine. The reference I'm using is more of a bit of a triangular conical shape, but honestly that as the end almost looks like just good enough as is. Actually, that looks a bit bad. Don't do that. That's... I think that should be enough almost. I'm starts to get to feel a bit too flat at that point. Push this in a bit more. Yeah. I think this might be a mistake. I was hoping it would work out, but it does kind of feel like it's a mistake. It kind of works, but it kind of doesn't. Yeah, too big. I'm just curious. Yeah, I think this feels a bit too big. I think this size is fine. It ends up being a bit too small by that point though, which is kind of the issue. I think that is a good size. I'm gonna have like another piece here that I'm gonna do instead of this bump. I'll just have another piece do the same thing. That does actually work about better, I think. That's a lot smoother. But I actually almost finished this piece pretty quickly. I mean, this is one of the more relatively simplistic weapons. It's a starter weapon. That's a dagger. So, the coloring might be ready now. Oh, that actually sets it pretty nicely. Yeah, that's like pretty much everything. Shape-wise, that is pretty good, I think. Which actually, I do need to do some maintenance work in terms of some other stuff. I'm gonna cut down the size a tiny bit, I think. But overall, like... Actually, I think size-wise, like, it's big. That's pretty big, dagger-wise. I mean, it's like not that big of a dagger. Like, that's like, it is like shoulder to shoulder, which is kind of long, but like not that long. Like, it's not supposed to be that tiny of a dagger. Like, this isn't like a pocket knife or something, and even then, with a pocket knife, I'd exaggerate the size, just due to the hands on my characters being a bit big. But I mean, I think the tiny bit big. I might reduce them when I like redesign stuff in the future, but for the moment, this is pretty good. And that's actually not the worst. Like, I think that's actually a good size. Like, I think that's genuinely just a moderately solid size. So it's time to color it. Like all these other ones that I color. So there's gonna be a pretty active amount of shading on this one, I feel like. And the handle on this one's bluish. I might go with a more pinkish reddish type of thing, which I might even go like a more like rosy type gold type of style, which would be kind of hard to emulate. I'm not sure exactly how I get like the more rosy gold color. I guess like that is kinda. It feels a bit weak. Like, it feels like too much like a peachy color. I guess the best way to test it is to just like get an actual gold and then overlay it with a tiny bit of a pinkish color. Like that. Like, even then it's like that more so. It does just start to make it feel a bit unsaturated. Like, sure, maybe. Oh, look at that, my Nimbus dailies already. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna go with the rose gold for the moment. We'll try just standard, and then we'll play around with it a bit more. Which just this gold is a bit too vivid. Oh, what? The game tonight needs to be updated? Are you kidding me? It's a Tuesday. Are we serious right now? Sure. It now starts to feel a bit too unsaturated, but that's kind of like the way the game works. My art style is ultimately a bit on the darker end. I don't know why they did a hot match for Nimbus at this time of the year. Okay. If I just go with a pure gold style, but like, will I? I mean, honestly, whoa, Nimbus is being loud. I just wanted to log in and do Minecraft, and I did not realize this was gonna be loud. A lot of like gold dagger type arts are kind of like just gold top to bottom, right? like I don't see too much variance in terms of the handles. Like the handles seem to either be on more of like a bit of a reddish orangish or a pure whitish scheme. I do see a bit of these more bluish ones, which is why I'm thinking about going more of the reddish type of color for the handle. But yeah, overall, blues again. I mean, navy blue just looks really good for like royalty type stuff, but same in reds. But like, I look like a rose gold. Ooh. I think I'm typing some caps. Okay, so this one is rose gold with some like gemstones. Oh, actually, having a gemstone centerpiece here would look really good. I might actually add that in post. I'll see how this goes for now, but I might add a centerpiece here. Yeah, the pinkish color is gonna be really hard to get. Let me actually color grab this real quick and see what I'm actually looking at in terms of color. Yeah, it's kind of like an orangish hue. HSV, yeah, it's like really on the orange side of the hue. Very unsaturated, very bright. So that's about what I would expect for like rose gold. It's like gold but pink, like that equivalates to orange. So I might go with this like kind of like gem centerpiece on the god here. Some of these don't even have like a god type of thing, but I think it helps. It adds some breakup here. So I might go with the more. Let's see if I go with the more rose gold type of thing. So it'd be kind of like that, which I think would look kind of nice. But I'm gonna have to do, like, the shading is gonna have to be really good on this, because I'm gonna have to do a lot of shading work. Because at this point, it just looks orange. It just looks kind of wacky. But yeah, hilt-wise, I want to see like, what I do if I go with like a more reddish hilt. Like something like that would be actually good. And then I can use a darker red here. Ooh, whoopsies. Like that does look kind of good. I always want it like more like that. Like actually really show like that, because otherwise it's not gonna really show much. Okay, that's a bit more obvious than here. Like really make that strike out. I could use another color for it, but there's not really much that would fit the color scheming here. Also, the hill's not gonna really be seen too much. I could actually reverse this maybe. Reversing it does actually seem to be a good idea. It does feel pretty nice. I might go with that. But yeah, the heavy lifting is gonna come from the shading here. the rose gold isn't gonna work out. I mean, like, it just feels weird, so... Should be a bit more shine up here. That's kind of the issue with gold. I'm not really good at making it feel gold-like. Actually, this is on the bottom side, so I should be kind of reverse coloring this, shouldn't I? Probably should be. What am I lining up to? I'm lining up to those random things sometimes. Okay. So this one should be the lighter side because I'm on the reverse face. Right side. Kinda like that. I don't really need this extra material, but there's no reason not to keep it there. I guess that's kinda good. This is definitely easier to work with than the doggo face. This should probably get pulled back a bit, because... yeah. Let that kind of break it. It goes better like that, and I can just double layer. That's what I've been kind of experimenting with, is just double layering my shading. Kind of like that. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. I guess out of curiosity, if I do flip this, there might be some value to doing that, but I think it makes sense. I don't know how I forget how I normally do this with the reverse shading. Because sometimes I don't. Like here I didn't for some reason. Here I didn't reverse shade. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I won't. Like this one's just more reverse shaded. Kind of in the same way with that side, but it's more like... Huh, that's weird. Like here I did reverse shading, and it's just a 180 flip. So maybe this one doesn't need it. Am I wrong for giving this one reverse shading? I might be wrong. Let me try flipping this. Is that better? I think it kind of fits a bit more than this did. We'll go with this for now. These are gonna be a bit more pointy. Are they not aligned? Hold up. Okay, I was about to say, what was that? What was that about? Oh, weird. What the hell? You know what? Yeah, I can just duplicate these because they are supposedly the same structure, and this should supposedly work, which it did. That was a bit weird. That just doesn't feel right enough. I'm gonna go 25 on that. Okay, that should be pretty good to handle. Awesome. Do I go a bit more pinkish on it? Like a bit more magenta? Just random test. If I go 97. That actually might work. I actually kinda like that. But actually, let's go with that. Random pivot, but like 98? 98 or 97? 97 is what I tend to go with. And that also gets it more distant from the gold color, which makes it a bit more contrasting, which is overall better. Will be my overall justification for that, which I think is good. Now, for this, I really don't know what to do for these, because I kind of want to have a gem. I kind of want to have some sort of... Maybe a gemstone centerpiece would be really, really difficult for me. I don't know how I'd approach that. With the salt style? Not an easy task. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of difficult. Because... I would love to add a gemstone centerpiece. I just really do not know how I'm gonna do that. Like, ornamental items are just so complex, it's really hard to draw them and make them look good. And I've never really designed anything like it before, so this is gonna be really difficult. As for this area, I know some... So first of all, I don't really have like the final sheen up here, the reflective sheen, which would add a lot more, I think. I do want to try it. So first what I need to do is I need to take both of these and combine them together. So here... Do I even like that? I think overall it's necessary, because without it, the weapon kind of looks a bit flat. I think the angle is bad on this, is what it is. I need to have a not more sharper of an angle. Let's try here and here. I think that's pretty good. Maybe a bit. Actually, I think I still need a bit more. Like, generally, do need a lot of an angle here. That does look pretty nice, actually. I think what I do need is a bit of dark tint here and a light tint here, just to really sell it. Before this loops. Is this the G one or is this the V8 one? I don't know, because I know this one? It is this one, yeah. Okay. I think that's enough for this. Here. It's very slight, but I think it is necessary. It does add just that little bit of like contrast. Gold is really hard to make good looking. Not because gold's like bad looking, it's really hard to replicate it. I don't really have a good basis of how to do this well. I don't know, I'm gonna do the same thing for the sheep. Sheep, how am I calling it? No, whatever. Something. Whatever this unshaded object in front of me is, we need to make it look shaded and decent looking. So, yeah, okay. I do want to try it. I think it might be able to work. It's just going to be really hard to make it work well. Are they not the same? How did that happen? Alright, so I was correct with it. Trying to figure out how to do this. something like that. A bit of an irregular shape. I kind of roughed it out, but that's kind of the gemstone experience. I don't know. Now it just looks more like an egg than an actual gem. It kind of is getting there, but... This is gonna be so difficult. Making a good looking gemstone is like not on my list of things I'm capable of doing, I feel like. Like I don't even know where to make this work. Yeah, I'm going for more like looking at rubies at the moment. And it kind of fits my color scheme I'm going for. This as the base. But then how do we do all of the complexities? That's the real thing. I have an idea of how I'm gonna get it done. It's just gonna be a sloppy mess of a job that I'm gonna do on this. Because when I first start with one of these, my current idea is I'm just gonna first generically make some gemstone centerpiece and I just start working outwards until I reach the edges. Kind of like that. That's a bit too much complexity though. That's kind of what we're looking at. Which is a bit wonky. I don't like this. Kind of like that. Okay. The next set is going to be a bit more difficult. That's kind of how they work, and I don't like that. Yeah, I don't know if this is worth it. Like, wow, this is gonna be hard. chunks had to be a bit lighter, besides a couple of them. I mean, it's starting to work. It's just not. Like, the centerpiece is the biggest issue. It's a large piece that doesn't have much shading. We have to reduce this thing's size to accommodate. And then we'll scale it back up from there. Honestly, this is a simplification of a Ruby, but it kind of works. At the end of the day, it doesn't look terrible. No, I technically wasn't using extended anymore because I changed the proportions of everything. And technically it would be down here, but yeah, that's actually kind of fine. It makes things a bit weirder to work around now, but we'll deal with it. Yeah, so the issue is going to be... First of all, what does that make? Oh, it's down there now. Okay, a tiny bit of shading actually did kind of do wonders for me. Make it a bit heavier. Yeah, that actually does It is starting to come together, kinda. Like, slowly but surely we're starting to get something that does look decent enough. Look at that accident. You know what? It doesn't look particularly bad. Like, genuinely, that looks kind of nice. That was a lot of work, but it kind of paid off. Do want to make a couple adjustments. I think overall it's fine if these edges aren't too filled in. Or I can just have these run until they connect up. Like, genuinely, that does look good. That took so long, but it was worth it. Oh my goodness. That was worth it. It was very worth. I could copy and paste it and then put it right back down here, but then that would be so obvious. I can make a separate one. That was pain. Okay. Now that that's done, this weapon is getting closer to completion. I knew the art project was going to take forever. It's been almost an hour and a half and I'm not even done with this one yet, and I already had like half the base started. So it was incredibly easy to get the shape down after having that. I think what I need to start doing is I need to spend a day to just make some very rough skeletons of stuff, and then come back a couple of days later and have like instantaneous inspiration. Because it was much easier to get working on this way when you have the base done. Like, having the first step completed made it much easier. Yeah, okay. I'm starting to feel really good about this. It's just, wow, there's a lot to be done. Aren't you guys like perfectly lined up? Well, we'll do Shantian theme. This one's always peak to listen to. 125. Yeah, there's still a small, minute difference between these two, which is not negligible. Okay. That is not big enough. Oh, this one has different transition, a slightly different transition than the one I normally listen to. I was like, huh, that sounded a bit different. I think it might be a different poster. We just happen to use the same thumbnail. That did not feel the same as it normally feels. Some weird thing to pick up on, but it was the thing I picked up on. Yeah, these different transitions on this one are messing me up. Like, That's kind of hard to do it with this one. That's why I get an idea of how this actually looks on the weapon, on the actual gameplay side of things. It does look really nice, to be fair, though. Like, that is very, very sparkly. I don't know if I actually do a hilt gem. I think this is enough. I just want to make sure that it looks like it's like set nicely. Okay, hold on. That actually does look really nice too. Like that extra bit of glaze on top does look really good. Like I actually want to run with that. That extra glaze looks so nice. That does look really good looking. Like, yeah, it looks really nice. Okay. Almost done with this weapon. Okay, there we go. And then this one. Oh my goodness. Okay. Alright, first weapon is done. Alright, first weapon is done. That took ages to make. As in just about an hour and a half, which is including the prototype construction from a while back. I think overall this weapon took about 2 hours to drop, which is like pretty insane, but that's kind of par for the course, the amount of time spent to draw anything. It does look really nice though. I've been getting a lot better at like actually good weapon design. Like this does look pretty good. Like before we had, so this was just like a reskin of like some old artwork that I made about a year ago. And like, I mean this is still a pretty good weapon. Like this stuff was pretty complicated to make. But overall it's not like the same, like you can see a lot of like overall shading, like my shading work back then was a lot different. There's a lot of things I just straight up didn't shade. Now like my weapons have a lot more to them. Like these ones are pretty good. This was like very cheaply designed, but even then it's more in my current art style. This one looks so good. My biggest complaint is that this tip isn't the same as this tip, but everything else about this weapon just looks super nice. It's a really, really good looking weapon. All the spikes and everything. The words here in the one language. This is probably the weakest part right here, but like everything else about it just looks super nice. Even this claymore, it doesn't look the greatest. Some of this is a bit rough, but overall it looks pretty solid. The dud isn't that good. I'm not really good with dud design on weapons, but yeah. Some of this is just like rush work just to have like conceptualizations. This one was fine. Definitely a tough one to draw. I didn't really gotta do a big Molotov, so it's a bit, yeah. The fire barrel does look pretty nice. 29 and stuff. I do have different art styles for this. I mean, these ones, I still hold that this is really, really well designed, really well made. I like it a lot. This one also looks really nice too. It's very geometrically sound. This one is pretty old. I like these ones a lot. Oh, actually, I only have the cryo torch here. I don't have the other weapon. But yeah. First weapon done. It just looks so clean though. The ruby was really nice looking. That was a really well made design. But it's time to move on to, I don't know if I want to do culinary arsenal next, because that's a lot of stuff to make. That's 5 different weapons. I might save this one for later. So in that case, we move on to this, which is the rope dart and the sensor. That's gonna be fun. Rope dart and sensor here and then here. Actually, I do want to do Pyron. I've been meaning to draw Pyron for a while. I might do that. I might just do rope dart first, just because this is gonna be a bit easier to make. Culinary arsenal is gonna take a long time. And I think I can get a good looking rope dart going pretty quickly. I think first I want to do the sensor. There was some material for this to look up. A Google Doc with some reference images, which is very helpful. This one should actually be mostly pretty simple because it's going to be a top-down of a sensor, so a lot of the complex geometries aren't going to be like visible to start. Okay, so how are we going to start this? I think it's a brass sensor specifically, right? Let me ensure that I'm correct on this. It is a brass sensor. So, let me just get some more sensor images. You know, a lot of like reference images for sensors are more just the sensor and not someone actually holding it. Okay, so there's like a kind of like a hilt stick that is attached via chain to the sensor. That is kind of the general imagery we're going for here, which is a bit of a weird one to design up. What do bamboo headed? Not bamboo headed. I was about to say bamboo headed again. What do bamboo boards? So the staff part isn't the hardest part. The chain is going to be a bit nightmarish to consider, but it should be okay. I think if I ever want to animate these, it's going to be really hard. Because like, how am I going to animate a chain? Just want to get that size comparison there. I think something like that looks pretty good for the handle. I don't know why I drew it at a 90-degree angle. I normally never draw on this angle, but honestly, it worked out. So yeah, we'll go with it. Okay. Continuing onwards. The sensor side of this, I'm just gonna do a top-down piece for this. So I'm gonna make a separate thing just so I don't get bindings off of that on accident, because that is a common trend where I will accidentally get bindings off of that. I'm seeing these ones that look like more hexagonal. I do like that. It's gonna be kind of hard to make a good hexagon. I think I'm gonna try and use a hexagonal base to start, and we'll see where that goes. So kind of sit almost like kind of there. nice little identity is that I think one of these sides is about approximately half the full length of the hexagon. I think. Like, mostly. These are supposedly regular hexagons, and this is supposedly be true, but I might be wrong on it. I thought it was true. Maybe I'm stupid. Although that is kind of a consistent fact. We can make this work though. What am I thinking off of? Oh, am I like accidentally like trying to base off of this thing's size? No, it is, yeah. It's exactly half. I was like, I know this identity is true. Even still, it feels like it isn't. It's pretty weird. And the best thing to do here is... I could see this maybe working. You know, I probably should have done the cold theme when I was working on the gold weapon and not like now, but you know, it's fine. Ooh, you know what I should do? Hello. You know what I should do? I shouldn't do it like this. What I should be doing is I should be using the hexagon as a base and using its 6 points as the actual basis for everything else. Let me actually do that. This might be the smarter way to play. Because the issue right now is that I have all these points that just kind of don't work. So theoretically speaking, if I cut all of this up down to single points, that kinda worked. Yeah, that did kind of work. And then by this point, everything should be even. That's actually not bad. Look at that. This song's like not louder. They really turn up the volume on this one. Yeah, it adds just that tiny bit of curve, which I think is just enough to feel kind of like there's like, it's not just a flat one-dimensional object. Like compared to just a not hexagon, there's just that tiny bit more. Very, very small, but just enough that there's at least some value to it. Okay. So brass, we're gonna go for more of an oranges color anyways. We're gonna deal with the coloration later. The issue is of course making the sensor look like a sensor, which is not an easy task. I did say top-down is nice, because there's less complexities to it, but there's also a less definite shape, which means that there's more responsibility on me to make sure that that shape is easily identifiable, which can be quite tricky. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna make shape. Okay. That's like roughly the shape that we're working with. Like very simple geometry here. I really am fluctuating between this is gonna be a very hard thing to draw and a very easy thing to draw. I mean, there's enough ornateness again, like they go with the dagger, except now we're working with brass, but even still, not the easiest thing in the world to draw. Not the hardest either. Definitely on the easier side. I'm gonna make this about one part of this thing. Oh gosh. I'm like way slow. I think the bigger one is just a bit more identifiable. Okay. So that's essentially what we're working with. Very roughly, this is kind of all we have. It's just these two, and then there's like a chain connecting between them. What I'm gonna do, art style wise, for my own convenience, is when I design a chain, I'm gonna probably design it with a fade. So it's like there is a concept of them being connected, but visually they aren't, because the chain fades out as it leaves the object from both ends. So you don't actually have a hard solid connection, but there can be an imagined, hey, there should be a connection here. Because that would be a pain to make a lot of chain links. I have made chain links before for icons which don't move. So it's a very different beast to try and make things that move, and I'm not going to deal with like chain physics or something. Like, not about to deal with that. So yeah, this is kind of what we're going to be dealing with. Locana melody? Why not? Ba, 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 ba. Actually, hold on, let me check something on the side real quick. I think I want to deal with the chains last. I think I can do kind of like some approximation of a chain. It's just not going to be pretty. Because that's essentially the concept, is you just have two objects which you can visually unite on two different sides of the same, on two different layers. And then you repeat that structure over and over. And then, you know, have some small few shifts to designate different leakages. Like, that's essentially what I need to make. Is that, but this is honestly not even that bad for a very rugged chain. This is not the style of chain I'm gonna go for, but that's essentially what I'm trying to create. I could actually do that. Were they using more circular chains or more of these capsule-sized chains on these? I think I'm tending to see more capsule-sized chains. There's a couple more circular chains. Circular chains are interesting. The way they kind of can line up is like more chainmail-esque. Capsule chains tend to be more alternating, which is kind of easier because when you're dealing with like an alternating type of chain, it's kind of more like you have more of this style to start, and then the next one, it's pretty much just a flat line you can get away with, which is like the median, the average of the two colors, and then you can kind of run this cycle over and over, and it would look pretty much just fine. Like these type of chains are a bit easier to design. So that's kind of how I see chains. I don't really have a good art process, so this is just kind of how I do things. I just find something that works by bashing my head into a wall, and sometimes it works out. But these ones, I tend to not like to use outlines for weapons so that I can resize them more easily, but here I kind of need to use outlines because the outlines don't change size, unfortunately, so it's kind of annoying. But it is definitely useful here to have this type of thing going on. So with capsule type chains, you can kind of just do this on both ends, and you get a pretty good capsule type shape. So I'm gonna do here one and that. So that's kind of the capsule chain. I want to go more circular though, ultimately. I think this is pretty good. Now if I do more of the circular style chains, that's more what we're looking at. Which I think actually doesn't look that bad. I do kind of want to go with this type of style. Like that. That's essentially what we're doing. So just like that. Alright, just take that. And that would be the entire sensor system. I think I'll make the actual handle part a bit smaller, because it's a bit big right now. A lot bigger than what it needs to be. Yeah, that does look a bit too short now. But I think it ultimately is fine. Or I think it's more that it's just a bit too fat. Like if it was just thinner, it might be better. Or just overall smaller proportions. And this is actually a bit more reasonable. Maybe the chains are a bit too big, too. I think we just work with this now. I think this is probably enough. I think, so we're obviously gonna add more detail to everything, but it's kind of hard to get any better graphical proportions on this. This is just such a wildly different item than like what I normally design. I think I can like maybe make this a tad smaller. I think overall this was a bit big. Yeah, actually, compared to the dagger, it's like, this is actually kind of tiny. Which, by the way, this just looks so good. Genuinely looks beautiful. I think this is pretty big. It's about like shoulder to shoulder, like a piece of plate mail. It's about the same width as, which means that it is like trying to visualize it in the real world. A pretty large sensor, which is kind of what I was going for. I think this is actually pretty good. We'll see how it works out in the end. So starting with this one's coloring, which I'm seeing a lot of gold and red on this one too, but we're gonna go more of a rusted brass type of style. Yeah, like brass, I'm seeing a lot more of it. It's kind of like, I'm almost feeling a bit of I'm feeling a bit of an orangish tint and a greenish tint at the same time. Here I'm seeing more oranges, which is what I would expect. Here I'm seeing like bluish greens because obviously copper. So I think actually going a bit of a green tint works, because first of all, this character's main color scheme is on the greener hues, and it's like greener and teal hues, which fits his color motif. Obviously his actual character sprite looks nothing like that, but you know, such is the way. And also I don't want to make it look the same as the Godot dagger. Which is why I'm also not gonna go. I'm probably gonna go more of a. I might actually go to navy blue to like tealish for like the wrappings on the handle, because that might be a bit cooler. Yeah. Because obviously I don't want to have the same color scheme again. So we might go a more tealish color here. We'll see how that works out. I can see it working. It almost looks more like it's like just full-on rusted corrosion, which is not really the goal. I could go for just more pure leathery style, but again, it feels like I'm making the same color scheme twice, which not in my
my best interest.
Yeah, trying to make this work is kind of a difficult thing. Anyways, I do want to ultimately go more of the brownish color here. I don't see a greenish color working here. This has to be more of a brownish. But unlike the Godot dagger, we're going more of this like deeper color. A deeper color with less reflecting feel. Here I could just go more, cause like yeah, going like a reddish again for like the handle.
It would make sense, but it also wouldn't. I could see it going both ways, honestly, is the thing.
This seems to be a pretty good color though. This actually I kind of nailed the color here. I think more like 7. It has to have more of that goldish type of feel. It's not copper, it's brass. So that is kind of the color we're going for. For this ring, I might go more of a gold, or I might go more of a silver. Looking at some of the color works here, I could see silver being pretty cool, but I think overall, like a gold might just be more pretty. Like an actual like gold, not the rose gold type of thing. Like that. I kind of want to put a second one now on the other side of this. Like right on this face. That I think is a bit over the top. I don't want to do that. Doesn't feel right. It almost feels more like wood at the moment. Kind of unfortunate color scheming. Do I want to do that? I'm trying to test out something right now. See if this looks any good. Nah. I don't know how to do that kind of like braided leather type of thing. Don't know if I want to try on this. There's really no reason to, but also
Kind of, it will help contrast the material type here, which is important.
because ultimately that's something I do struggle on is showing the material type. I think it would be something to be like, hey, guess what material this is? And it's like, I'm trying to go for like a greenish leather, but since it's green, it doesn't look like leather. It more looks like a lead pipe that's painted green, which isn't particularly great. Yeah, like, how am I gonna do like a leather? I mean, I could just go for more outlining, so like I'm seeing like some outlining work, which I could achieve, where I just take this and I make parallelograms. That kind of roughly look like what I'm going for. Now that is not a good example of it because this just kind of looks like stripes and it doesn't really look good. And if I were to like crisscross it, like it would just look bad, but a lot of the leather texture is more like the variance in things. And just like the small striping of stuff and the way it's striped. Which is kinda hard for me to replicate with my style. I think I wanted more so to on the sensor first. So chains wise, okay, we get some progress in the chains. Chains I'll go more goldish on. Which is the thing, I think part of it is this also isn't looking grassy enough, like it isn't like actually looking grass, it just kind of looks like a very rough imitation. Like I think that's closer to more like what grass is supposed to look like than the more copper looking stuff over here. Why are they not? Oh, it's partly because these aren't actually flat completely. How many chains does that even do? Yeah, see, it's like, I don't know how it got out of proportion, but it did. Oh, it's pinging off of that, but I don't even know what this is. Oh, they're all random dots in the middle of the map. Yeah, I see. I don't know where this came from. Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, these are definitely more grassy feeling.
Which is what we need to be going for more so.
So if I copy more of this color scheme, right? The only issue is making it not accidentally collide with the other, like the chain color, which is kind of an
issue. The overlapping is part of the problem here.
Okay, that actually does help. Using the outlining there definitely helps make that clear that there's a chain there. Zoomed out from far does kind of look a bit awkward, but you know, that's fine. Yeah, so this is still a bit too copper-like. So mostly turning down the saturation on it should help. That for the shading there looks nice. Yeah, that does actually look a lot better color-wise. So we're gonna go with that. This is a bit too gold at this point. could maybe use the original hexagon. Oh, that was not what I meant to do. I went into the stratosphere. What? Oh no! It's now pacing all the way up there. I didn't want it to. I want it down here. Oh, it's actually a bit bigger than the original hexagon. It's a bit smaller than the original hexagon. That's actually kind of annoying. I did resize it. Now it doesn't actually match the hexagon. It does mean I can make some pretty cool corner bumps, which actually is useful. Okay, something like that. Does it look good? It does add some nice flavor. I think this color scheme is not the way to add that flavor though. I think only the outer ones are necessary. These ones look a bit too pointed, which I feel like I can fix by changing the geometry, but it would just get very, very annoying to do that for long. So something I don't think is going to work out. I haven't listed enough. It's mostly just I need to add more texture to this. It's kind of hard to do that. I should probably add the fading on these. The only issue is the overlapping point, which is a bit heavier than the rest. There we go. I'm trying to keep that out of the picture for now, so I don't have to clash with it. What? This change? Oh, I got pushed randomly. Okay, I think that's enough shading on that one. There's really not much to do with these. Like, this is like the most shading I can really do on these type of items. Like, I would like to have the level of detail I have on these, but like, literally, like, sometimes this is all you do. Because any more just doesn't make sense, or is justified by anything, really. This one doesn't need shading just because it's like the top cap and like shading and contraction, I feel like. Do I actually want to have it under? Guess I just move it though. Oh, I actually didn't do that. Whoopsies. That actually does look pretty nice though. Like, generally the shading there does look pretty good. I think maybe there wasn't enough shading on these areas, but they do feel a bit empty. Let me actually change that real quick. Oh, yeah, this is actually very useful for just knowing where I'm at in terms of spacing stuff out. can't actually move things. Also, all light discrepancies with the whole time, but that's okay. I mean, that's a bit better. Alright, well that ends day 2 then. Didn't finish the other weapon. This one's gonna take a lot longer just because it's a bit of a larger one. Although we spent about an hour and a half on the second weapon, and we're mostly still in drafting phase since I really don't know what to do with the shading on this part. But that's pretty good progress so far, so yay! That's all done. Goodbye.